And welcome, friends. We're excited today. The question is, can you really systematically get the results you want from others while making them feel genuinely good about themselves and about the process and about you? Our guest says, absolutely. Bob Burg is a best-selling author. His books have been translated into 21 languages. He sold over a quarter of a million copies of Endless Referrals and The Go-Giver. Stephen Covey says, Bob Burg delivers again. Bob, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us again today.
Michael, my pleasure. Great to see you.
You know, it's great to see you as always, Bob. And you know, your new book, and I've read them all, but Adversaries into Allies, this is my favorite book. But I got to ask you a question. As I'm getting on social media, a lot of people are talking about your book. I know you're doing a lot of interviews, Bob, but are you saying that everyone and anyone who in any way disagrees with your opinion is the enemy?
No, it does sound like that, though, doesn't it? No, actually, when we say adversaries in the context of this book, it could be a person who's the nicest person in the world, but because of the context or the position of the situation, they may be temporarily and even unintentionally standing in the way of your happiness and satisfaction. For example, you need to return an item, and as you approach and you're like I am, and you lost the receipt or threw it out, and as you approach the service desk, there's a sign above the person saying that there are no returns without receipt. And this customer service person might be the nicest person in the world, but they're not equipped to know how to handle the situation and work within it so that you're able to be happy, and they are as well. Or it might be the client that you need to raise your fees, and they're resisting it. Now, you might love that client, but right now it's maybe an adversarial position. So it could be anything like that. One of my favorite quotes was from Sadaharu Oh, he was often referred to as the Japanese Babe Ruth because he was so prolific in hitting home runs.
Okay.
Fantastic player. And what he said, and I thought this was just profound, he said, I never look at the opposing pitcher as my adversary, but rather as my partner in hitting home runs. And that's how I see our adversaries within the context of this book, simply as our partners in attaining personal satisfaction. The difference is that our goal is to, rather than hit a home run off them, which isn't good for them, our goal is to help them succeed as well. So it truly is a win-win.
Well, it's a great book, Bob. And what was the funnest part about writing this book versus all the other books that you've written? Because, I mean, this is a great read.
Thank you so much. I actually don't like writing books. I like having written books.
There you go.
So it's not necessarily a fun process for me. However, my enjoyment about this in its entirety is that I really believe it's my way of carrying on my dad's legacy, because he's a person who has always, to this day, is just the best when it comes to really just relating to others. And one of my
you talk a lot about influence in the book, Bob, and you talk about your dad inspiring you, but you use that word influence a lot throughout the book. So does influence relate to your dad? Did that come from him, or is that a overall theme throughout your life? Talk a little more about your dad's influence and how that fits together.
Well, I'd say in my dad's case, his best people skill, if you will, is simply a genuine interest in bringing out the best in others. With me, I don't think it was that natural. That's not something that came natural for me. So while I got to always see his behavior and how he did it, and understand his high character, it's not something for me that I embraced until I got a little bit older, when I saw that what I was doing wasn't really working for me, and it really wasn't working for others in my life. I believe that influence, and if I'm to define influence on a very, very basic level, Michael, it's simply the ability to move a person or persons to a desired action, usually within the context of a specific goal. But I don't think that that's not necessarily the essence of influence. I think the essence of influence is pull. It's an attraction. You never hear people say, wow, that Michael Butler, he's so influential. He has a lot of push with people. Man, he is pushing. No, it's that Michael has a lot of pull with people.
Okay.
I think that's the key.
Well, Bob, you know the book. I want you to tell people how to get a hold of the book, because I know you've got a ton of free gifts on your website, and the book Adversaries to Allies. You know, if people have read your other books, they're going to want to pick this one up. They're going to want to share it. Tell us, how do we find the book? How do we get a hold of you? How do we access all the freebies you've got for us?
The easiest way is just to go to Burg, BURG.com. You can even register for my Influence and Success Insights. You'll get some very, very value-based special reports and be able to download Chapter 1 of Adversaries into Allies, The Go-Giver, and a couple of my other books.
Wow, Burg.com. That's a great URL. I wish I had some four-letter URLs or a four-letter last name like Burg.com. That's awesome. So, you know, we deal a lot with authors at Book Launch Experts and people that have already published their books, that are relaunching new books, or just wanting to get more out on the speaking tour, or translate their books internationally. You know, your books have sold in 21 languages all over the world. All of these years, what are one of the best one or two experiences that being an author for you, Bob, has meant for you? And what would you say to somebody that's kind of on the edge and wanting to get their book out, but maybe they're a perfectionist and the manuscript's not ready to go? What would you say has been the best experience for you as an author and speaker?
Well, and Michael, as a publisher and as a great book promoter, you know there's nothing like a book to help you position yourself as an authority in your field. And I think that's why I wrote my first book years and years ago, Endless Referrals. It was simply to help position myself as a speaker, as an authority, to help obtain more bookings at higher fees. So I believe that having a book is very, very important for anyone who truly wants to be positioned as an expert or as an authority in their field.
Well, I tell you what, the travel's great. We've been following you for years, and that was the first book that hooked me at my networking group and networking out there. And we're telling people, get your book out. And you know, the market's moving so quickly. We've been having a lot of fun watching you grow your platform over the years and around the world. 21 nations, that's just amazing. So we're going to put this interview at Book Launch Experts. Now, Bob, we want to check back in with you in a few months because you're busy traveling all over the world, speaking everywhere like crazy. Any last words for a new aspiring author or speaker that you could leave us with today?
Well, I'd say, and this goes back to something you mentioned before, that if you're struggling with a book, it hasn't been written, just understand there are methodologies, there are ways to write the book. Consult with someone who's done it before, but really, you know, the big thing is don't try to write an entire book. Don't try to eat the elephant in one bite. You know, because it's just too daunting a task. But you know, get that title, get the subtitle. You can always change it later. The introduction, the table of contents. Get the chapters down, write that first paragraph of every chapter, and then you can always go back and start filling it in. Do a little bit each day consistently if you can, and eventually you're going to have a book.
Well, Bob, we appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're busy on the book tour. And his new book, guys, Adversaries into Allies at Burg.com. There's a ton of free gifts there. And if you need some motivation, inspiration, some networking tips, and just to help you increase your sales and your bottom line as a business person, your people skills, and your follow-up skills, Bob is all about helping you have endless referrals, be a go-giver, and turn your adversaries into allies. So, Bob, thanks again for taking time. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you. If you get a chance to hear Bob, follow him online. He's speaking all over the world. If he's in your city, he's worth buying a plane ticket and driving to his next event or flying to it. Bob, thank you so much, and best wishes with Adversaries into Allies. We can't wait for your next book.
I always appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Have a great day and a great week.